moving to this spot to show you kind of how I do everything. I also got out a few pairs that I can show you kind of what I did differently to each of them, and it all depends on the shoe. Blocks I tend to not really have to do much to. Gainers I don't have to do anything to. Freeds I have to do a ton to. Russian points I usually have to do a ton to. Grishkos there's kind of just, I can't. Capezio is kind of hit or miss. So I've got two new shoes to kind of show you different things, because the other key is these, the Meirelles, have a sewn bottom sole. So I can't, I mean you can pull it apart and 3/4 it. I'm not going to because I don't need to with these. But these Freed Studio Operas, I can't quite always get over the box, so I'm going to try and pull these apart and show you. We'll see if that works, because it's sometimes hard to get them apart. But these are not sewn, so it's easier to pull it apart. So some tools you may need is, for different things, an X-Acto knife, whether you are cutting out part of the shank on the inside, or if you cut a little sliver there, which I have done on these, I think. Tried to pull off shoes. And you can kind of see I cut it and then I glued it with jet glue right where my arch is to kind of help hold the shank from breaking, but allow my foot to bend a little better there. This shoe is also dyeing, and that's why I did that. Mine dye here in the box first though, so these I can't wear anymore. But I did that on those. And so sometimes I'll do that, just depends on the shoe. I just kind of tried it out more than anything else. I haven't found that I need it necessarily, but it's there. So that, an X-Acto knife for those sort of things. Obviously, if you are a child or younger, get a parent to help with a lot of this, because even I'm a little nervous using some of these things. So leave it at that. If you are taking out part of your shank or 3/4ing, you can see in some of these shoes there is a little nail in there. Especially in Freeds, Grishkos, Russian points, you may have to pull the nail out. So pliers to pull those out. I won't need to. Well, they may be in here, I don't know. Scissors for cutting your shank if you need to, when you try and kind of pull it apart and you need to cut it. But also you do have to cut your drawstring. Well, I cut my drawstrings, you don't have to, but I can't stand them being super long. Once you pull them tight, I just cut them shorter and then leave them. If the shoes are super baggy, I'm trying to find a pair where I did this to them, because this was a cool trick. I got it from Catherine Morgan's videos, but, or not baggy, if your shoes are super small and super tight, you can cut that little lining. So there's two linings in here, and that will kind of make your shoes fit a little bigger, like if your feet are swelling and they're too tight. These shoes now fit me perfectly. And same with this pair of my Encores. They both were way too tight and were killing me, and then I did that and they were fine. I don't think you can do it with gainers. I can't find a way to get the, I don't think there's 2 layers there. But, so there's that. A hammer. I know some people do hammer the boxes to get the, make them quieter, because you want them to be quiet on stage. You don't want them to be super loud. Also to like flatten your box. On Freeds, sometimes I find I have to flatten the tip of the box, because my tip, the top is not always flat and it's not always balanced. They should, ideally, just like stand. Not all of them do. I mean, and it's hard to find ones that do. A perfectly balanced shoe is going to stand straight up if it's not like pre-arched and things. That was that example, but and then jet glue. This stuff is ridiculous, so be really careful. It's really, really, really watery glue, but it sets really, really, really fast. So this is like if you're trying to extend the life of your Pointe shoes. I've only done it a couple times. These were my like favorite pair, and they died really fast. So you can see it kind of leaked through. I didn't mean it to. I put it all down in the shoe here to kind of extend the life here, and you can put it like along your shank here to kind of extend the life. You can see it kind of came through a little bit on the sides. And it did. It's harder, but now it's like almost uncomfortable hard, which I've heard is an issue if you jet glue your shoes after they're dyeing. If you do it right when you get the shoes, if you start to learn where you're going to break the shoe in and where it's going to dye first, do it when you get the shoes, when you prepare them. That's why people also use shellac, the same kind of thing, especially on Freeds. I know a lot of people do both jet glue and shellac, but I've learned it is better to do it when they're new, not when they're dyeing, because then the jet glue sets kind of weird and it does hurt, and it doesn't always help as much. It extends the life better if you do it before your shoes are dyeing. So, but be really careful with this stuff. I get nervous using that still. As far as sewing your shoes, I am not going to do that in this video because that would take way too long, but you need elastic, which you can get at the dance store. You need ribbon, which I didn't leave any out, but ribbon looks like that. And then I have a little stitch kit from Bunheads. That's been my favorite one. I do have the Suffolk one and I have the Russian Pointe one, but I like this thread the best. Some people also like to use dental floss because it holds really, really well. I haven't tried that, but scissors for that. And then the other important thing that I still get nervous doing, but I have to, a lighter for singeing off the frayed ends of your ribbons and elastics, because it drives me insane when you have like little pieces of ribbon coming off. But I also, there's been a couple times where like the ribbon has kind of lit and I'm like nervous because I have to put it out. And yeah, so I don't love using lighters, but it is kind of an essential thing. So I'm 30 years old. I can figure out how to do this. I don't need my mom. So to start, I'm gonna step on the boxes of both of these. And I like to step on with my heel. So I'll step on them there. And that flattens them out. And they'll still retain some of their shape. You can also put like water or rubbing alcohol around parts of the box that are too hard to make them softer and make them more comfortable, which I've had to do on shoes. I'm gonna step on these. Okay, so those are a little more flattened out. The other thing I will do is bend the arch. So I will bend it kind of right in the middle here. And then a little bit back. This one's actually very flexible. That's weird because I haven't done anything to them. And again, these ones are pretty much pre-arched, but not quite how I want them yet. So they need to be a little more arched for me because I have no arch to my feet. I need all the help I can get. So there we go. Now they're more arched. So that's how those will look. So if I were to just put them on right now, I can do that. So toe pads are essential, at least for me. Everybody uses all different things. Some people use just paper towels and that sounds like the worst thing in the world, but some people do it. I like to use these Perfect Fit Pointe toe pads, which are custom molded Pointe toe pads. The only problem with them is I've never been able to get them right the same time, and this first pair is really getting gross, but it's the only pair that like I feel like really worked. So put the toe pads on, put my shoes on, and then you'll see if I were to stand, my feet are fully over that box, which is the ideal. That's what you want. These are actually really good shoes. So those are, and you can see they're coming off my heel because they're not sewn. That's why you need elastic and everything. At least elastic, if nothing else. But really you should be sewing elastic and ribbons. Sometimes I'm just lazy. So, and what I mentioned before, if you have ballet flats on, which I guess I don't need to put those on to show this, I'll just put one on. But just regular things, like I said, you want to have a really good feet flexibility. That's all I have, which is not great. But, and it was better until I took all my time off, but I'll get it back maybe. So that's all I have to say about ballet flats again. The other key thing, which I tend to need, especially if I'm actually doing a full class, if I'm just putting them on like that, I don't need to worry about it, but I like to tape my toes, and I also like to use dancer dots, which is basically, these are from Gaynor Minden. These are like second skin little squishy things that I just like to put over usually my big toe, because that's where I get the most pain, and that just kind of helps cushion my toes. Last year when I was doing a piece and I broke my toenail really bad, I did have to wrap my toes with the it's like the hemorrhoid cream. It's like the numbing cream, and then tape it to just try and at least numb my toes enough to get through the performance. So there is a whole brutal side to ballet, and I haven't even scratched the surface on that myself, but it can be really bad. I have a really low pain tolerance, so I don't put up with it. That's why I wear the thick little toe pads here and things, but yeah. That's the only other things I can think of that are good to know. So like on these Freeds, I did pull my shank out on these ones, so I did pull a piece out. These also, I lowered the vamp, so you can tell it looks nice and pretty on here like this part down here does. On these, it does not look so pretty because I unsewed this liner, took out the drawstring, cut it all down, and resewed it back on lower, and it still doesn't really quite work. These are also like a weird platform shoe, so they're not flat, but they're like almost tilted backwards for people with over flexible feet, which is not me. So I did actually do this. I also darned these and I added like a ring of fabric, which does help a ton on these. If I have trouble balancing on shoes and if I have the time, because darning takes forever, I will darn the tips of them to help. I also cut the satin off these, but if I have to darn shoes, they're not worth me using, so I'm just not going to. These were just, I really, really wanted Freeds to work for me. And I have a pair that kind of does. I haven't sewn them yet. These are the Classic Pro 90s, actually fit me the best right now. But since they fit so well, I already did take them out. These also had like dry, cracky glue, so they came off really easily. But I want to try and show you with the operas how to do this. So what I'm going to do is, I'll scoot up so I can show you. I'm just gonna pull, this is just the liner, and I'm gonna pull the shoe away. I may need to do, okay. So it comes apart. That actually came apart fairly easily. And then there's a little nail sticking out here, so I'm gonna have to pull that out with my pliers. This is gonna be a really long video and I'm sorry, but I also kind of feel like it's necessary. I may split it into two and do that first part as just one video and then add this as a second one. So there's my little pin. Okay. So now that's all done. And this is actually a fairly soft shoe. So, which maybe they're meant to be, I don't know. But now it's just a little more pliable for me. Now I could glue that back in if it was bothering me, just so it's glued down. I'm not going to do it on the other one because honestly that's not bothering me right now. They're still like both going to work the same. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll pull the nail out of that at least. So pull our nail out. And there we go. Okay, so now my nails are both out of those. And then that's kind of the most I do to them. Like, I'll do all these other things, but on these particular pairs, I should have gotten a pair I actually need to do that on, which I didn't. I should have gotten like a pair of Russians or something, but right now I haven't gone back to class yet this week, so these I also did a new trick where I just sliced part of the sole just to try and help them bend a little better. But yeah, I told you I haven't really had many pairs of gainers die on me. These are probably the only ones that really have. And you can't even see that much of a difference in them. Like, the bottom's worn out. I have had one where a chunk came out of the bottom though, actually. And then they just look pretty rough. But they do feel like they're stretched out, and that's the biggest part of it that I've noticed, because these are already wide for my feet and they're really stretched out now. That was about all I had for this, because I really don't need to, I think, go into how to sew them. That's pretty easy to do. I don't really need to go into how to tape my feet because it's kind of individual based on what each person needs. And I'm not going to darn either of these or do any extra breaking in because I really didn't need to. Like, these don't have the little hard part that I was looking for in them to pull out, so I don't have to 3/4 them. Nor do I have to like jet glue them or anything because they're still pretty stiff, and I don't know, I don't think I'm going to need to wear these as much. If anything, it'll be the Classic Pro 90s. Those will be the ones that I'll want to jet glue because I can already tell they're already really soft to begin with. But if you look at these, so this is what I was talking about how they're not flat on the bottom. So like Russians, these are really flat on the bottom, really flat. These are like rounded. Like, if you try to stand just flat, like, you can't. So I did take down a little bit of it, but like I would almost have to take down a lot more of this shoe on the bottom just to get it so that I can stand flat without falling over. I can't think of anything else for this. I, for some reason, was thinking this was going to be a much more involved video than it is, but either way, if you have any questions on what all to do, or you have more of this specifically you want to see in a video, like, I will do a sewing one if people want me to. I just feel like there's so many of those out there, nobody needs them. Or if you want me to do, like, next time I get a pair of Russians, I don't know when that's gonna be because I need to tighten my budget up now, so but next time I get a new pair that I need to do that kind of stuff with, I can do a whole video just on that. I did do one, so there is one already in my channel just further back from like last year or the year before, and it hasn't really changed much since then, to be honest. So you can look at that. I'll link that in here so that if you need that one, you can go to that one. Yeah, that's about it. Once I get these sewn and everything, we'll see how they work. So again, if you have any questions, hopefully that kind of cleared things up, but yeah.